Hello my wonderful friends, welcome back to my channel. I have another collection of stories for you today that I hope you will enjoy. Our first post is from particular side 5522. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad none of us are going to help him raise a baby at 50? My dad is 50. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. I'm 32, then there's my siblings at 29, 26 and 21. We are all adults. We all have our own lives going on. I'm raising 2 kids of my own. My brother, who's 29, has a kid. My 26-year-old sister moved across the country for work. My youngest brother is in uni and barely has time to eat, let alone take care of someone else's child. So here's what happened. My dad has been seeing this woman for a few months, not even half a year, casual thing from what we could tell. Well, she got pregnant and then disappeared, just completely ghosted him. But apparently she's not keeping the baby, and the plan is for my dad to take full custody when it's born. And he has already started talking about how we're all going to help him, not asking, telling. Like he's already built this whole plan in his head where we all rotate shifts watching this baby because he's older now and it's going to be harder on him physically. His words. I sat him down and tried to be as respectful as I could, but I told him straight up, Dad, none of us are in a position to do this. I have 2 kids under 5. My brother's barely keeping his head above water with one. My sister is in a completely different city, and my youngest brother is trying to graduate. We all have our own stuff going on. He got really upset, said we were being selfish and that family supports each other, said when we were little he sacrificed everything for us, and now we can't even help him with one baby. And yeah, he did sacrifice a lot for us, I won't deny that, but he had us in his 20s when he was young and had energy. He's 50 now. This isn't the same situation, and I think deep down he knows that but doesn't want to admit it. I told him we love him and nobody is saying this baby won't be part of our family, but he cannot expect any of us to drop our lives and become on-call babysitters for a decision he made. We didn't make this choice. He did, and he's got to figure out the day-to-day on his own. Nobody said he has to do everything alone. We said he can't expect us to do everything for him. There's a difference. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, as commenters have mentioned. Sacrifices as a parent are not debts your children owe back later. Your dad needs to get his life together and figure it out himself. The way I see it, he is only 50, not that old, so I'm not sure what he's trying to get at. Unless he has health conditions we are not aware of. 50 is not that old. Some people start having children at that age. If it's just the age that is his main concern, your dad is very capable of raising that baby. You have even offered help, just not on-call babysitting. Not the a-hole. Our next post is from Royal Judgment. Am I the a-hole for refusing to support my ex-friend through a miscarriage on a throwaway account because I have friends on my main? I used to have a friend, let's call her Mandy. Mandy and I were friends since school. We were pretty close. Our friendship ended when, shortly after the death of my brother's wife, let's call him Eric, Mandy started dating him and later married him. No, they weren't having an affair. They'd met maybe twice, once being at my wedding. Over the years we were friends. They found each other on a dating app. I do believe that. Eric was deeply in love with his late wife. I don't believe he'd ever cheat on her, but he was devastated by her death and just didn't process his grief and started dating really quickly to fill the void. Terrible decision, really bad choice as a father. I told Mandy all this when she revealed they'd been seeing each other, but she didn't listen. I called her sick for dating a grieving father with grieving young children and refused to have anything to do with her. She married him a year later. Fast forward 5 years, my nibblings hate her. I hate her and my brother. My parents tolerate her so they can still see their grandkids. The family relationships never really recovered. Over the Christmas period, Mandy and Eric announced that she was pregnant. All hell broke loose at my dinner table and the kids ended up staying at my place through New Year's. Last week, Eric asked me to take the kids for the weekend as Mandy was going through a miscarriage. He made it sound as though it was stress-related, but personally I feel like this was just to make everyone feel guilty for not being excited for them. I love those children deeply and have taken on a motherly aunt role for them since they refused to be taken care of by Mandy. I said of course I can have the kids, and was ready to hang up. Then Eric asked if I would consider reaching out to Mandy, as she could really use an ally right now. I told him Mandy wasn't my friend or my family, and I didn't like her, so no. Eric said that wasn't fair. What Mandy was going through was traumatic, and she needed someone who could understand. I had a miscarriage a couple of years ago. I told him there was nothing about Mandy I could understand. She was an emotional vampire who trampled over grieving children so she could secure herself a husband just as greedy and selfish as she was, and I wasn't going to pretend the stress she was dealing with wasn't the cost of what she did. I guess Eric's phone volume was pretty loud because I could hear Mandy start wailing in the background. Eric called me evil and hung up. I wouldn't wish a miscarriage on anyone, I really wouldn't, and I never wished one on Mandy, but her going through something horrific doesn't change the fact that I think she's a shitty person. I don't have anything kind to say to her, and reaching out would be disingenuous, so I'm not doing it. But my mum thinks I'm a giant a-hole for refusing to offer support. She agrees with not rekindling the friendship, but said I should probably have shown some kind of support, just as someone who would have been an aunt to their baby. To me, these people haven't really been in my life in 6 years. Why would I ride in now just over this, even though I still can't stand them? Am I the a-hole here? Should I have just let my feelings go because Mandy asked for support? Edit. Added context of the issues I have with the way Mandy and Eric treat his children below. The way she treats his kids is what's missing from the story. Firstly, she had absolutely no respect or patience for the fact that they were grieving. She moved in within 6 months of their mother's death, removed all her personal effects from the house, and took over parenting these kids she barely knew. She had zero compassion for their acting out. The youngest child was 6 when their mum passed, and Mandy would get upset when she had tantrums saying she wanted her mum. She's consistently pushed herself into the kids' lives when they don't want her there, volunteering at their school events, calling them her kids when they've asked her not to, calling herself their mum. She told Eric they don't need therapy because they're too young to benefit from it because they barely remember their mother anyway. She refused to buy my niece new clothes for nearly 6 months because my niece didn't want to go shopping for the clothes with her. And through all of this, my spineless, selfish brother just let her run the show because he never wanted to learn how to be a single parent. He's not innocent, but she isn't either. Those kids are miserable and neither of them care. Asterisk. Edit 2. Because people seem to think I'm ignorant to Eric being the main problem here. I'm not, and I never have been, and I have given him more shit for what he did than I ever gave Mandy. He's the parent. It was his job to look after his kids, and he didn't. I can honestly say I haven't liked who he's become since his wife's death, and I think he's a bad parent. I don't have a relationship with him beyond coordinating seeing the kids because of how disturbed I am by his behaviour. I absolutely know that most of the blame lies with him. I just don't see Mandy as a victim either. And she is the person who wants to benefit from my support here because of our past friendship. That's why this story is mainly about her. But yes, I am aware Eric is mainly to blame for fucking up with his children. Oh Lord, this story is so messed up. Those poor children. OP is not the a-hole, not at all. She is in the right. Both the brother and Mandy get 4 out of 5 a-holes. The mother who is blaming OP gets 2 out of 5 a-holes. If she's so worried about Mandy, why doesn't she reach out? Also, a lot of the comments point out that why does Mandy need support from OP, an ex-friend? Why doesn't she reach out to her current friends? Does she not have any? Makes you wonder how she burnt those bridges. Gives us real insight into what Mandy is really like. OP is not the a-hole. Our last post is from Queeve10. Am I the a-hole for making a scene when my friend's friend was making fun of my wife? For some context, my wife is from Sweden, but her mother, who still lives in Sweden, is Ukrainian, and my wife got a lot of her traits, so she does look very Slavic, and to be fair, it is something that stands out in the part of the US we live in. She's also not eligible to be a naturalized citizen in the US for a couple of years, as she hasn't been in the US long enough, and we have only been married for 10 months. But yesterday I went out to dinner and drinks with some of my friends, and one of my close friends brought his long-time friend who was visiting I've known for a while. I have never particularly liked this person, but he's kind of a friend by proxy, since he's close with one of my close friends, and I just see him a few times a year at most. He's the type that has a tendency to really push the envelope on making jokes, and will often go over the line, so I already don't particularly like him. During dinner he immediately starts asking about my Russian wife or wherever she's from, and I explained her heritage. He clearly didn't understand and was clearly already inebriated, because his response was along the lines of, "Oh, kind of like Melania," in reference to the First Lady, who is not Ukrainian or Swedish. She's Slovenian, lol. And then, trying to be funny, he asked how much it cost to get her over here. I didn't think that was very funny, but others did, so I just kind of brushed it off and hoped he'd drop it. He said it in a way that was joking, but I have him a smarter response back. The whole evening he would just ask random questions, some of them actually good questions, but he kept referring to her as my Melania, and would do a shitty 47 impression when he said it. Sorry, cutting in here, 47 impression. Anyone know what that is? Anyway, back to the story. Where it hit the line was when he made a joke about her leaving me just because she wanted to be a US citizen, and then started making jokes about a particular law enforcement agency I can't post on here, showing up to our home and making fun of her accent. At that point I could tell other people were kind of like, okay, little too much here, and I just straight up said, "Will you effing stop?" and got into it a little bit, and I said some nasty stuff back to him where people several tables over could hear it. Clearly ruined the evening, and I feel bad for that, but it was disrespectful. Even though I love to lovingly pick on my wife, I also know she's really sensitive to getting made fun of, and she struggles still with some stuff, and there's been times where she's got made fun of for not knowing certain slang terms or her accent, even though it's subtle and it hurts her a lot. So him saying some of that shit bothered me, and it would have really bothered her if she was there. I maybe could have handled it better, and I do feel like an a-hole for ruining the evening, but I was just over it. Edit. To clarify, my friend was also really upset with me for making a scene instead of handling it privately, and I definitely made the rest of the evening uncomfortable. I had no quarrels making sure the tables around us heard what was going on, and I had no issue in the moment making it heard. Nah, not the a-hole. I would have stopped that a lot sooner, though. Guys like that can dish it but cannot take it. To him he was joking, and you took it too far. Funny how it's not a joke when you said stuff back. OP comes in the comments and says he wished he had stopped it a lot sooner, as there were many points where it was obvious this guy wasn't joking, also making some nasty mail order bride jokes. Yeah, OP wasn't the a-hole for how he reacted. He was a little bit of one for letting it go on for so long. The friend by proxy gets 3 out of 5 a-holes. Thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe. Have a wonderful rest of your day.